What is your freedom number? How I found the secret to having passive income once I knew my freedom number. First, let me tell you a quick story. I was a single mom working 2 jobs, both minimum wage, with no health insurance. I was living payday to payday with no extra cash for emergencies. I had a car that I couldn't keep running, and I had no means to save toward retirement. I remember back in those days, right out of high school, didn't have any college education. So at that time, it was really hard for me to get a job that was over minimum wage. I could get one close to minimum wage or a little over, but not a lot. So things were always kind of tight. Ended up going through a divorce. So now I was a single mom. And so now I had to try to figure out the whole childcare thing. And for any of you single parents out there, you certainly get what that's all about, trying to uh, race the time clock, get your kid to childcare and get clocked in and get to the job. So you certainly know that whole thing. But then something happened that changed my life forever. My mom sat me down and had a talk with me about getting on with it, meaning making more money. Now, of course, I had no idea how I was going to do that. I met a nail tech that was making more in 1 week than I made in a month from my corporate job. I remember at the time I was in a sales position at a hotel management type position. And I was getting my nails done as part of my office uniform, if you will, for you gals out there, guys that get acrylic nails. You understand what I mean? So anyway, my nail tech decided to retire, and I went on the search for another nail tech, and I found this little gal. She was 19 years old, and she was doing nails outside a little country town here in central Ohio, where I'm from. And I don't know what made me ask her, but as she was doing my nails, I said, well, by the way, how much can you make doing nails? And she told me, and I was shocked because it was like 3 times what I was making on my mandatory 50-hour-a-week corporate job, a little over minimum wage, of course. And so I decided that maybe this would make my mother happy, since she'd sat me down and had a talk with me about getting on with making more money. So I decided to attend nail school and become a part-time nail tech. And I thought, I can work a couple of evenings a week, and this will be that more money that my mom was talking about. Well, at the time, I had no idea the impact this would have. The problem was I was working a full-time in my corporate job and now part-time as a nail tech, but I had no time for my daughter. So now I had the extra cash, but I was just so stressed because I always seemed to be racing from one job to the other. Now, it did create more income, however. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, though, the nail salon I signed on with decided to close. My corporate position was changing into a mandatory bachelor degree position, and I had no time or money to go back to school for my bachelor degree. So I was making some more money at the salon. I was putting that away. But of course, with the hours, and I still wasn't making a lot of money because I was still working that full 50-hour a week on my corporate position. But management called us all in. I was kind of middle management there, and top management called us all in, and they said, we have a new hotel that's looking to buy our hotel, and one of the things they want all of the middle management folks to have a bachelor degree, which I did not have. And I had really no time between the 2 jobs or the money for college to actually go back and get that bachelor degree. So I was on the downward slide because the owners of the nail salon decided that running that whole big salon, they had stylists, hairstylists, they had tanning beds, they were just a mom and pop operation, but they decided that it was too much work for them to continue. They had children at home and they were just spending day and night at the salon. And so they decided that it was just too much. They thought they would sell. They were talking about selling. The owners of the corporate company, they wanted to sell that hotel, and the new corporate buyers, of course, like I said, wanted everyone to have that bachelor degree. So things were a little, I was a little nervous. Things were a little scary right then. So needless to say, I felt kind of panicked. How could I support myself and my daughter without these two jobs? So I started researching local colleges to get my bachelor degree as soon as possible to try to keep my corporate job because, of course, my health insurance was there and I was getting a W-2. I just felt like that was, you know, kind of my security. And I started visiting other nail salons to find a new salon because I was enjoying that extra money and it was pretty good money. But that's when I hit rock bottom. I showed up for work to the nail salon and it was locked with a big for sale sign in the window. They had decided to close and didn't tell all of us. They didn't want us to leave too soon because we were booth renting. You know, each of us just paid for a station or a nail table or a styling station. So they didn't want us to leave too soon until they definitely were going to close. So, so they just kind of overnight decided to close everything down and didn't tell us. We just showed up and saw that it was closed. But the next day I showed up for my corporate job and my boss told me I needed to work more hours. He said my mandatory 50+ hours a week was not enough for the new owners. And now I was exhausted from the commute and the work hours. This meant I panicked and started looking for yet a third job. How was I going to do that? My mom was exhausted from taking care of my dad, who had at that time been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and he was going downhill kind of fast. He was in his 80s. He had been a builder. He'd been a factory worker and then a builder. And I'll show you the house in a little bit that my mom and dad built together. But my mom was also watching my ADHD daughter while I was trying to figure out what to do. And so that's when I decided that I needed to go full-time as a nail tech since the income was better than my corporate job. With my nail tech income, I decided to buy my first home all by myself, a condo. And here in a little bit, I'll show you a picture of the condo as well. And then with my nail tech income, I was able to afford health insurance for myself. So I was like, okay, I can do this. I can go full time. I can leave that corporate job and I can actually afford my own health insurance and get myself a condo. But before I left the corporate though, I did use my W-2s to buy that condo because what I knew being self-employed as a nail tech was that it takes a couple of years for the bank to actually look at your income and approve you for a traditional type loan. And so I knew that still working in the corporate job that I could use those W-2s to get that loan approved for that first condo. So I did that before I quit. And then I decided to go full time. But that's when something happened that changed everything. I had found a new salon where the owners had nail techs and tanning beds and some hairstylists. I realized as owners, they were collecting rent from me and from the other girls. It occurred to me that I could buy my own building and rent it out to hairstylists and nail techs. So I thought, you know, I could pay this booth rent for the next 20 years, because remember, I'm getting ready to go full time now. This was going to be my income, my sole income. And I could pay this rent for the next 20 years and I would end up with a shoebox full of rent receipts. But if I bought my own building and decided to have my own salon and then rent out stations and nail tables to hairstylists and nail techs, that in 20 years, my staff could actually buy me a building, meaning as they paid their booth rent, I could then pay the mortgage. And even if I broke even if I didn't make any income off of their rent, if it just covered all of the expenses, including the mortgage, that in 20 years, my staff would buy me a building and that would be my income for my retirement. And that was the spark that I needed. I was very scared, but optimistic to get a commercial loan for my very own salon building. I knew that I was on the right path. So here's what happened next. I learned everything that I could about the salon industry. And I did buy the building. I made additional mortgage payments each year to pay off the building earlier than the 20-year note. And a little side note, a little formula that I use for that is if you just make 2 extra payments a year, that actually will cut a 30-year note into about a 15. And so I decided that I wanted to pay this mortgage off earlier because I wanted to retire earlier if I could. So then one day I looked up and I realized that I could now buy more salon buildings. I could sign on even more stylists and nail techs to pay me some rent. I also started buying single family rentals to help grow my passive income in retirement. And I'm going to show you some of those in a moment and just walk through exactly how I did that. I was forever changed by the fact that I now had passive income and freedom to live the lifestyle I always wanted. I could actually work less hours, and I even homeschooled my daughter through her high school years. I homeschooled her through 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And by the way, she is now a fully licensed cosmetologist, and she is also the admin to all of my properties that I own, which I'm going to show you. And she is married and has 3 children, so everything turned out well. I now felt in control. I felt confident, and I felt like I was a good provider for the first time ever. And I saw myself as a business owner, and that's probably, that sentence right there is one of the key sentences in building your freedom number. Is you have to see yourself as a business owner. Others won't see you as a business owner until you see yourself as a business owner. I actually received the Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year Award, and I received the Chamber of Commerce Entrepreneur of the Year Award. And that's why I knew I couldn't stop there. I realized that I needed to teach you how to do what I've done. I needed to make creating passive income even easier for you. So that's the whole point. So now I am focusing on creating a step-by-step process for you to discover what is your next best step in creating passive income. I've created a user-friendly website, and I've created an online international academy. Now, inside this academy and website that I'm putting together, I've helped folks turn everything that they're doing into passive income. I have a gal that is, she is selling Melaleuca, which is products of going green. Everything is very organic. And she's working at building a team so that her income becomes passive. I have a gal that actually does Legal Shield, and I'm working with her building a team, and she is going to make her income 100% passive. I have a gal that's selling insurance, of all things, and she would love to build on everything to create an agency where she could hire agents to where her income could become passive, to where these folks can work as much or as little as they want, and that's the whole point. But for me, I built my passive income on rental property in the salon industry, which I've just been sharing. So I'll get to share a little more, because now I'm able to help individuals and entrepreneurs just like you go from panic to passive. And this makes me feel like there's so much more for me to do. So I'm just getting started. What I'd like you to take away from all of this is, no matter how bleak things get, keep going, never stop learning, and simply start to find your next best step to passive income and freestyle living. And that's what I'm all about. I am Kathy Benner. I'm a passive income coach and a health and wealth educator. I didn't know my freedom number when I started, and I bet very few of you watching this video know yours. What is your freedom number? Here's how I found the secret to having passive income once I knew my freedom number. The freedom number is the foundation of building legacy wealth. Without it, you don't know where you're going or where you've been. It's the single most important guidepost along your journey to financial freedom. When I learned this simple formula from a real estate investor, it changed my life. Now, don't forget, you can come up with your freedom number in whatever industry you're in, whatever your passion is. It does not have to be real estate, but real estate is how I chose to solve my financial freedom number. So for years, I threw around arbitrary numbers like I want to be a millionaire without any idea as to why. When you run this simple freedom number formula, you'll be shocked to find that you don't need to make $1 million at all. True financial freedom is quickly attainable with real estate investing. It's also attainable with whatever it is that you're doing. You just have to have your freedom number. I remember when I started in the salon industry, I wanted to replace my corporate income. So what I did is I took my corporate income and I divided into it what I would get per service as a nail tech. So I knew how many clients I had to have before I could quit my corporate job. And I only needed 20 clients to quit my corporate job. So again, I think you'll be shocked. Freedom number is just not hard to attain once you know what that number is. I also guarantee that you'll be shocked at just how many rental properties it'll take for you to reach freedom. I know I was very shocked. So here's my freedom number formula. Open your bank accounts and look over the last 6 months of your expenses. Expenses are what it takes to run your family every month. They may look like this: an electric bill, a cable bill, groceries, gas for the car, Netflix subscription, tuition, taxes, mortgage or rent, a few dinners out, a movie. Don't leave anything out. Don't cut any corners. So if you're reading this during the holiday, though, you want to leave out those, because if you skip the holidays, if you don't, they'll throw everything out of whack because you don't have those expenses every month. So take those 6 months worth of expenses and find the average of those months without the holidays. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that your number is $4,500 a month. Now you'll want to pad it a little bit. So add about 10% just to give you some extra freedom. In this example, 10% of 4,500 is 450. Just round it up so we have an even 5,000. So 5,000 is our freedom number for this example. If we had an additional $5,000 a month coming into our house, we'd have everything covered. We would have achieved financial freedom. Now, in this example, your number may be different. Doesn't sound like a lot, does it? Well, it's not, and you don't need to be a millionaire to achieve it. But the next step is the fun part. This is the part where we figure out how many rental properties it would take to cover our 5,000. Okay, don't groan. I've heard all those horror stories about being a landlord. I get it. Trust me, if you create systems and solutions, you won't have predicaments and problems. And that is what I teach in my courses, is how to put together those systems and solutions so that you don't have those problems. Now, most of the rental properties that I fix and keep for myself are either a 1, 2, or 3 bedroom. Those are either single families or duplexes. They're with a 1, 1.5, or 2 bathrooms, a single family duplex, triplex. I even have a 4-plex. I'll share that with you. And in states like Ohio, in the United States, different cities. I'm not outside. Well, I am. I've got one outside of Ohio. Most of my properties are in Ohio. So most of them rent between $600 and $1,200 a month. Now, each of these houses costs roughly $29,000 to $100,000 after they've been rehabbed. But for now, we're only concerned with the rent. So for the sake of this example, let's use an easy rental average of $700 per month. Now, I like to be super conservative in my estimation. So I take the $700 and I want to account for an additional 40% for vacancies and repairs, both of which are rare because I've just renovated the house right before I put it on the market to rent. So I'm going to take the 700 cash flow and I'm going to multiply it by 0.60, which takes the 40% out. So 60% of 700 is $420. In a worst case scenario, we'd be making $420 per month on this house, cash flowing $420. Again, I do it to be conservative and safe. So now here's the magic moment to find our freedom number. We now simply take our expenses numbers of 5,000 and divide it by the 420. We get 11.9, so let's round that up to 12. 12 properties cash flowing $700 minus that 40% of repairs, vacancies, etc., which leaves us the 60%, or $420 a month, is all it would take for us to achieve our freedom number. Isn't that remarkable? 12 properties. That's it. Not 100, just 12. Here's my first condo. I was still working at my corporate job at the hotel. This is the first property I bought totally on my own. I was very nervous and excited at the prospect of having my own piece of real estate. I was a single mom, if you remember, and I wanted to quit that corporate job and go full-time doing nails. And I wanted to use my W-2s though before I actually left that corporate job. So this is my first purchase. This condo complex came with a clubhouse and a pool, a park, a playground. It was perfect for me with my being a single mom with my daughter. I then quit the corporate job and was full-time in the salon, and had just thought at this time, now I'm ready to, I've had my aha moment that I needed to own my own building. So I'm now thinking I need to get into a building. So this was my second purchase. It's the commercial building that soon became my very first salon with me as the salon owner. And I ultimately, over the years, I had a total of 12 stylists and nail techs working full-time in this salon, and they were paying me booth rent. And I sat right inside that front door right there in this first little room. This was an old town in a little community, a little village, close to where my condo was. So I was only maybe 3 miles from work. Which was the first for me. I had always driven into a bigger city from outside the city, and it was always, a 45-minute to an hour commute back and forth to my corporate jobs. So this was the first time that not only was I making more money, but I was also just commuting about 3 miles to work, which was just wonderful. With getting started here, if I fast forward, I did eventually, as I retired, I turned this building into a little office building. There's a sign hanging right here that you can't really read it, but we changed the name from All About You Salon Suites to the Gerald Frederick House Executive Suites. And I turned it into an office building. You see, I added all these mailboxes here for each of the suites. But when it was the salon, we pretty much operated here on the first floor. The back here is a driveway with a parking lot and a ramp in the back for handicap. And then upstairs, I had tanning beds while it was a salon. But now that it's an office building, the whole thing is offices. And right now, as an office building, it is cash flowing $500 per suite. So there are 6 suites in the building. And so there's the 6 mailboxes for each suite. So here's my special purchase. This one became my special purchase because of my mom. So I have to tell you my story. My dad had already passed away at this time, and he had left some bonds, I don't know, in a drawer at their house. And she had since then become diagnosed with a brain tumor. So now we were worried about her. And she said that she wanted to cash in these bonds because she was afraid if something happened to her, that I would not be able to get them cashed, because my dad had left them to her, but she had never converted them over into her name. So they were still in his name and he was deceased. And so she was afraid that if something happened to her, that they would be useless. So she said, let's get these cashed while I'm still alive and take care of these. So I took her to the bank and we jumped through all the hoops. And if any of you had any old bonds to cash, you know what I mean? You got to package them and mail them off and, anyway, fill out all these forms. But we did all that. And finally, the bank called and said that the bonds were ready to be cashed. And when we cashed them, they put $10,000 into an envelope and handed her the $10,000. And she turned to me and she said, here. Well, I thought she meant here, go put this in another bank, because she had a couple of banks that she worked with. And I said, oh, where do you want to go next? What do you want to do with this? And she said, no, here, I want to give this to you. Well, I was a little shocked because I thought, you know how $10,000 is. I could put that in my bank account. I was running the salon, if you remember, the 12 girls. So we're busy. We've got 200 women a week coming through the salon. I'm crazy busy with my own clients at my nail table. And I thought, well, $10,000 is going to disappear and I won't have a clue what happened to it all. I could spend on a weekend trip and I could put a down payment on another car and I could, upgrade one of the salon suites or my condo or whatever. And I would look at my bank account and say, where did that $10,000 go? So I wanted to drive by somewhere and say, this is my mother's bonds. This is my mom and dad's bond money that they worked when they were working factory work at a very minimum wage. I wanted to drive by and say, this is the bond money. So I bought this little cottage. It's in a campgrounds, cutest little thing. It's a 3-bedroom cottage. And this is the original picture that was on the realtor site when I bought it. You can see there's some damage here on the roof right here at the edge of the roof. You can see the gutters are full, need cleaned out. Does have a brand new air unit back here, and it does have brand new replacement windows and new vinyl siding. So what I did is I bought this for $6,500. Yes, you heard that, not $65,000, $6,500. I simply wrote a check for $6,500, not $1,000. And I shampooed the carpet, put new vinyl, there's little kitchens in the back, put new vinyl in the kitchen, bought some new appliances, a new refrigerator and stove, and a new pedestal sink and a new commode, and painted the whole interior, and have rented this for $650 ever since. So paid cash, and it's been cash flowing $650 ever since I bought it. So that's my mom and dad's bond money. So I love looking at that little cottage. But then came 2 more salons. I bought 2 more salons by borrowing the funds, but I had to have the down payment because salons had to go commercial, and on a commercial loan you have to do generally 20%. And so I had to save up the down payment and close on the loans just like my first salon. And this top one, oh, as you hear, there's a fire truck going by. I apologize for that. On this first one, it even came with 3 1-bedroom units. And you can see here the sign says All About You Salon Suites. And over top is a 1-bedroom unit, and in the back are 2 more 1-bedroom units. And so it's cash flowing very nicely. And then this bottom one has actually 6 stations in it, and it's cash flowing very nicely as well. So then both my parents by this time had passed away. So I helped take care of my dad, who was diagnosed with the cancer until he passed. And then I took care of my mom, who was diagnosed with a brain tumor until she passed. But I was able to leverage their home to buy 3 more properties. With my mom being the second to pass and then me being the baby, I ended up with the home place. Now, I didn't grow up here. They built this house after I grew up and left home and started my own home, but this was the last house that my mom and dad had built together, and so they decided to move into it. And my mother lived there for 30 years before she passed. But toward the end, when she was struggling with the brain tumor, I did buy this little 3-bedroom house close to me, just a few doors down from where I live. And this is where I was able to take care of my mom. And then I was able to leverage her house and buy all 3 of these. Now this one is a duplex, top and bottom. And in our example, you remember we use $700 a month. And this one I do get about $700 each unit. So it cash flows $1,400. And then this is a nice big house with 4 bedrooms, mother-in-law suite, 2.5-car garage. And it cash flows for about $1,200. And this little tiny 3-bedroom close to me, it cash flows for $1,000 a month. So now that the salon staff was paying down my mortgages on the salon buildings and my tenants were paying down the mortgages on the residential, it was time to leverage my equity and buy 2 more single-family properties. So these were both in foreclosure. This top one I paid $30,000 for. I simply needed to add a gas line to it to get the gas turned on, and then just some paint and carpet, and it is cash flowing about $1,000 a month. And the bottom one had a tree from the neighbor that fell into the roof, so I did have to put a whole new roof on this one, and gutters and downspouts, and I think I spent $5,500. And this was the kitchen that was already there. We just painted everything and cleaned it up. I did add a new stove and refrigerator that's in this unit, this kitchen. And this one also cash flows for about $1,000 a month. So now I can finally pay cash for some of my properties. I have enough cash flowing that I can pay some cash. So my hobby is searching online for the best deals in my price range. And I found these top 3 properties here. And this one is a duplex, top and bottom. And the owner's suite up here, we've kept this one. This one is close, for those of you that know anything about Ohio, this one is close to Cedar Point. We're about 5 blocks from Cedar Point, which is a large amusement park just west of Cleveland, Ohio, right on the lake. And these are pictures of the owner's suite. This is the dining room. And if you'll look here behind me, this is actually where I'm sitting right now. I am in this owner's suite, sitting right at that chair right there. And this is what you see behind me, the very bottom part of this picture. This is the bedroom, and this is the kitchen. And then 2 blocks away, we found this little storefront, and we're converting it. It's also a top and bottom duplex, and we're getting it fixed up, ready to rent. And then just last week closed on a 2,200 square foot duplex over in Springfield, Ohio, about 45 minutes from us. And it's also top and bottom duplex. So these are not rented yet. We anticipate that my numbers of the 700, that's going to be perfect examples. And so we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we're going to keep this top one for us. So we have 5 more units that we can cash flow at about 700. And then again, I'll calculate more closer to the 450 to be conservative. So I continue to leverage my equity to perfect my property management skills and to learn more about real estate investing. So I finally also own a bed and breakfast. So I don't know if that's a shock for anyone, but after a while I sold the condo and I bought this house. This is a dream recovered, not a dream discovered, because when I was 12, I remember telling my mom that someday I'm going to own a bed and breakfast. And of course, at 12, I didn't even know what a bed and breakfast was. But I had held on to that all these years, all through my corporate positioning in the hotel industry of middle management on into owning salons for 20 years and then into real estate investing. I came full circle, and now I have turned my house into a residential bed and breakfast. So we host guests from around the world because short-term rentals are more immediate income. When I retired from the salon industry, I knew I was going to give up that income. And if you remember, the reason I got into the salon business was because the income was so good, and now I was going to walk away from that. And so I wanted to generate some additional cash flow just in case. And so I did that with short-term with this bed and breakfast. When you come in the front, there are 3 bedrooms. There's a bedroom right here in the bottom level. Then you go upstairs, and there's 2 bedrooms next to each other at the top in the front part of the house. And the bottom bedroom is this one. And then when you go up the stairs, the very first bedroom is this one. And then when you go down the hall, right over top of the main entrance, the 3rd bedroom is this one. So we have 3 bedrooms in the house for guests. Then when you walk in the front door here, this is the parlor, these 3 pictures here across the bottom. This, by the way, is my mother's violin. She was in an orchestra in her 20s and 30s, and this is her actual violin. So that's on display in my bed and breakfast parlor. As you see, there is the back of the house. You can see in this aerial picture, the very tall part of the house, that's the parlor and the 3 bedrooms, the bottom one and the 2 top ones. And then this 1 level roof here in the back, that is all owner's suite. And that is where I live, is in the owner's suite. And then we have lots of patio area around the outside. So I love it. It's perfect for me. We're in a small little city, just about 20 minutes outside of Columbus, Ohio. And I love it there. We're a very walkable community. We have wineries and breweries and retail. We have farmers markets. We have lots of restaurants, outdoor patios, lots of walkability in our neighborhood. And we're close to bike trail. And for those of you that may have heard, we are the home of the Brewdog, which is the big brewery out of Scotland. They chose our little city to be their American base. So come visit us. So anyway, I wasn't done yet though. My hobby is looking for discounted properties, so I expanded my search. And this is a cute little story. I saw this tiny house in Florida, and it was for sale for $7,900. Yes, $7,900. And so I call the guy, and he says, yeah, it's just a tiny little place. He said, my dad lives there. He's gone into a nursing home. He won't be coming back home. And he said, I live in Texas with my children and grandchildren. And he said, we can't even vacation there because it's only a 1-bedroom. So he said, I need to just sell it. And I said, well, would you take $5,000 for it? And he said, send me a check. So I did. So I paid $5,000 for this tiny little house. This is my living room and my little tiny kitchenette and bedroom, and then a little 2-top table in the kitchen. And then, of course, you know, we're on the bikes all the time. So it's close to beaches, airports, shopping, restaurants, and it's close to the bike trails. Now, my mark is a private pilot as well. And this little tiny house is 2 miles from a little local airport. And so we can actually fly his plane. He flies the plane. I just ride in the plane. He flies the plane, not me. And we can fly right into the airport 2 miles from our tiny little house in Florida. And so we did buy a car, and we just leave the car down there. We bought a car down there, and we just leave it there. So that is my life and how I acquired my financial freedom. So let's recap. You're going to add up your monthly expenses. You're going to pad it by 10%. And if 5,000 is our freedom number for this example, we're going to take the average single family rental, 700 times 60%. We're going to take out that 40% for vacancy and repairs to bring it down to 420. Then we're going to take our monthly expenses of 5,000, divide that by 420, and we're left with 12. So it would take 12 rental properties to achieve our financial freedom. So you can achieve that as well. So I'm excited to share this with you. Please visit some of the other topics that, you know, as you're here in the symposium, and I really appreciate you visiting today. You can learn more about me and what I have to offer and how I might be able to help you, no matter what industry or however you want to acquire your freedom number. I would love to help you with that, and you can reach me at www.kathybinner.com. And again, thank you so much for visiting today.